So let's start with talking about the second step in the design thinking process. So it is the define stage, as we know now. And if this is a scientific process, you could call it the hypothesize stage. And some people do call it that. But basically, this is all about problem definition. And a lot of the time, people will come in assuming they know exactly what the problem is, and that's fine because sometimes that problem is the only problem. But most of the time, there ends up being more problems the longer you think about it, or that problem becomes to evolve into the real issue at hand. Within this process, there is a really crucial aspect and a step to it, which is called time and place. And it's really just a time where you're able to reflect and slow down and let those ideas kind of marinate over time. It's important to sit on the problem, whatever you think the problem is, or pain point or issue, whatever you want to call it, as it tends to develop, unfold, and reveal itself further over time. So during this process, you must really understand how to refine, define, and articulate the many problem statements that you may have, as they can act as almost like a map in the future for you or a direction. So that's kind of what we're doing here. But how do we do this or how do we start? Well, the first kind of step would be to take our data and everything we just learned from our empathize stage. So everything we learned about our user persona, who that is, who our competition may be, and what kind of problems our users might have faced without our design or with what we are trying to redesign. So in this stage, we really unpack these problems that we found. So then we synthesize what we've learned throughout that process and throughout our um, research, and we look for insights. So an insight for how the user may feel or how they may feel towards any sort of particular thing. And then we look for their needs and are those needs being met? And that's a way of looking for problems. So really what it is taking our users' personas and breaking them down and synthesizing them further so that we get some kind of legitimate and real problem statements, which are really just directions to pursue, to act on in the next stage, which is where we really start brainstorming. And a lot of the time when we're at this stage, like this is the defined stage I'm talking about, we have to go back and forth between the design thinking model. So going back to stage one to get more data relevant to the problem statements, that's okay. Remember that this is not a linear process and it'll help us much better in the long run. And this stage can be sort of like one of the more difficult stages of the process because it can often be so ambiguous most of the time. And we don't really know the problems or the solutions at this stage. So you kind of have to embrace that ambiguity and the uncertainty and kind of just roll with it.